My grandfather always warned us about the forest behind our family's cabin in Maine. "It's old," he'd say. "It remembers things." He never let us wander beyond the creek that split the land in two. As a kid, I thought it was just an excuse to keep us from getting lost, but now I think he was trying to protect us. It wasn't until I was in my late 20s after Grandpa passed that I returned to the cabin. I needed space after a bad breakup and a layoff. The quiet seemed like the perfect escape. I hadn't been there in over a decade. The first few days were peaceful. I chopped wood, fished, read old books from the shelves. But the forest was always there, looming just beyond the trees. I started to hear things at night, low murmurs, the sound of footsteps crunching leaves. I'd check outside, flashlight in hand, but never found anything. Then one morning, I noticed something strange. Animal tracks. Not deer, not bear. They were too large, too long, like elongated human footprints. They circled the cabin, but the strangest thing was, they stopped right at my window and vanished. I tried to brush it off, but, the next night I woke up to tapping on the glass. 3 soft taps, like fingernails. I didn't move, just lay there, heart pounding. Then came a whisper. My name. I grabbed the flashlight and rushed outside. Nothing. But across the creek, on the edge of the forest, I saw a figure. Pale, thin, watching. It vanished the second I shone the light. The next morning, I hiked to the creek. There was an old footbridge, half collapsed. I stood there debating. Grandpa's voice echoed in my mind. Never cross the water. The moment I stepped across, the air changed. Everything went quiet. No birds, no wind, just heavy silence. About 50 yards in, I found a clearing. In the center stood a stone arch, half buried in moss. Vines crawled over it, and strange symbols were etched into the rock. It looked ancient. Then I saw the totems. Small wooden figures nailed to trees, all of them with their mouths stitched shut. One looked just like me. I turned to leave, and saw her. A woman in white, skin pale as snow, hair black and tangled. Her eyes were hollow, like smoke. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Then she lifted a hand and pointed behind me. I turned and ran. Branches whipped my face. I crossed the bridge and slammed the cabin door shut. I stayed inside the rest of the day, blinds drawn. That night I dreamed of the woman. She stood at the foot of my bed, mouth open wide, whispering a single word, return. I woke gasping. The totem of myself was on the porch. The next day, I packed to leave. But the road was gone. Literally, just gone. Where the gravel path once was, now only thick, untouched forest. Like it had never existed. My phone had no signal. Compass spun wildly. I was trapped. 3 nights passed. Every night the woman came closer. Every night I felt weaker. I stopped eating. My thoughts grew foggy. I heard her whisper even while awake. Always the same word. Finally I gave in. I crossed the creek again. Returned to the stone arch. As I stepped through, the world blurred. Colors shifted. Sounds warped. I felt weightless. And then, nothing. I woke in the cabin, morning light streaming through the window. Everything looked the same, but it wasn't. The trees were different, too still. The birds never came back. My reflection in the mirror blinked out of sync. I'm not sure I ever really came back. If you go to the cabin now, you'll find everything tidy, as if someone still lives there. But don't cross the creek. Not unless you want the forest to remember you too. When I inherited my grandmother's old house in Vermont, I knew it came with a lot of memories and baggage. She'd lived there for over 50 years, and the place was crammed with antique furniture, porcelain dolls, and faded family portraits. But the strangest item was the mirror. It was a tall, freestanding thing with an ornate frame carved from black walnut. It stood in the upstairs hallway, opposite the window where the light hit it just right in the morning. My grandmother used to say the mirror was special. Older than the house itself, she told me once. It doesn't just show your reflection, it watches. I always thought she was joking. The first week I lived there, I avoided that hallway. Something about the mirror gave me chills. I'd catch glimpses of myself as I passed, but they always seemed wrong, like the reflection was just a beat behind my actual movements. One night, I woke to a strange noise, a soft creaking, like someone walking slowly across the wooden hallway floor. I opened my door to find nothing there. But the mirror, my reflection wasn't standing where I was. Instead, it was turned, looking over its shoulder towards something behind it. There was nothing behind me. I closed the door and locked it, slept with the lights on. The next morning, I tried to convince myself it was a dream. A few nights later, I had a vivid nightmare. I was standing in front of the mirror, but I couldn't move. My reflection began to smile, slowly, grotesquely. Then it reached toward the glass, pressing its hand against the inside as if trying to escape. I woke up sweating. The mirror was facing my bed. I never moved it. So, I called up a local antique dealer to come take a look at this mysterious mirror. When he arrived, he just took one glance at it and went, well, pale as a ghost. He mentioned it was from the late 1700s, European, possibly French, and, there were stories. Superstitions about mirrors acting as gateways or even prisons for spirits. That night, I decided to cover the mirror with a sheet, hoping it would help. But it didn't. At exactly 3:33 in the morning, I woke up to the sound of whispering. I sat up in bed, and to my surprise realized the sheet had somehow fallen off the mirror. My reflection was still there, but oddly enough, it wasn't sitting like I was. It was standing. And unsettlingly, it was smiling. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Over the next few days, things, well, they really escalated. I started finding handprints on the inside of the glass. Smudges, too large to be mine. The temperature in the hallway, it dropped every evening. And every night, without fail, the mirror would be facing a different direction when I woke up. I asked a local historian about the house. She told me there had been rumors about a man who went mad in the 1800s, locked himself away upstairs, believed his wife was trapped in a mirror. He eventually smashed all the mirrors in the house, except one, because, according to him, that one held her spirit still. That night, I stared into the mirror for a long time. I thought about smashing it, but something stopped me. It felt like if I broke the glass, whatever was inside would be free. Instead, I moved it to the basement. Since then, things have been quieter, mostly, but I still hear the whispering sometimes. And when I dream, I'm always in that hallway, staring into the mirror, watching myself smile. I've always been a skeptic. Ghost stories, haunted houses, cursed objects, I've rolled my eyes at them all. So when my sister sent me her old childhood doll because her daughter was too creeped out by it, I didn't think twice. It arrived in a plain cardboard box with no note, just the doll inside, wrapped in an old blue baby blanket. It was porcelain, with cracked pale skin and glassy blue eyes that didn't quite line up. The hair was stiff, blonde, and brittle, tied back with a faded pink ribbon. She wore a dusty lace dress and had one arm that looked like it had been glued back on years ago. I placed it on a high shelf in my office, thinking nothing of it. But almost immediately I started noticing things. The first night I heard a soft rustling sound. I live alone in a small apartment, so any unexpected noise is noticeable. I checked the windows, closed, nothing outside. I told myself it was the heating system or the neighbors upstairs. The next day, I found the doll on my desk. I thought maybe I'd moved it and forgot, but it kept happening. I'd put it back on the shelf, only to find it somewhere else. On the kitchen counter, on the couch, once even on the bathroom sink. Always sitting upright, always facing me. Then came the voices. They started as whispers, barely audible, like static, and then clearer. My name, spoken softly in the middle of the night. Daniel. I thought I was dreaming. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, heart racing. One night, I turned on the light and found the doll at the foot of my bed. That was the first time I locked it in a box. I taped it shut and shoved it in the closet. But the next morning, the box was torn open. The tape had been peeled, not cut, not ripped, peeled. The doll was back on the shelf, staring. I called my sister, demanding answers. She went quiet for a long moment. I should have warned you, she finally said. Mum gave me that doll when I was 6. It used to belong to our aunt. She died in a fire. The doll was found in the ashes, untouched. After that, weird things happened. Lights flickering, voices, cold spots. I never liked it. "Why didn't you throw it away?" I asked. "I tried," she said. "It always came back." I didn't want to believe her. Over the next week, things got worse. I'd find furniture moved, drawers open, and once, every photo frame in the apartment turned face down. My cat refused to enter the room where the doll was kept. She'd hiss and back away, fur bristling. I tried burning it. I took the doll to an old fire pit behind the building and lit a match. The flames caught quickly, but the doll didn't burn. The clothes blackened, but the porcelain remained untouched. And as the fire roared, I heard laughter. High-pitched, giggling. That night I dreamt of fire. The walls of my apartment melting, the doll walking through the flames untouched, her eyes glowing. I woke to smoke. The oven was on. I never used the oven. That's when I contacted a local paranormal investigator. He came, took one look at the doll, and went pale. Said he'd seen one like it once before. Only once. He tried to take it, but when he picked it up, he collapsed. Seizure. Eyes rolled back. We had to call an ambulance. He survived, but refused to ever return. Desperate, I found a woman who claimed to specialize in haunted objects. She told me to bury it, deep, in consecrated ground. I drove hours to a small church cemetery in the countryside, paid a caretaker under the table to let me dig at the edge of the woods behind the fence. I buried the doll 6 feet down, sealed in a lead box with salt, sage, and prayers. Things have been quiet since, but some nights, just before I fall asleep, I feel something watching me. And once, last week, I found a small pink ribbon tied around my doorknob. The same one the doll used to wear.